Hello, welcome to this week's edition of Rugby League Back Chat from the LD Nutrition Stadium in Featherstone. As ever, we have plenty to talk about this week and three very special guests to do just that. Joining us this week, we have Castleford Tigers prop forward Will Maher, the football manager of Featherstone Rovers, Steve Gill, and all-round Rugby League legend, Craig Huby. Gents, thanks for joining us. As I said, we have loads to get through, don't we? I think we've got to start, Steve, on the comments made by Eamonn McManus regarding the referee Rob Hicks at the Challenge Cup final, without, paraphrasing him, I know, but basically said it was very hard for him to be impartial because of the publicity stunt that had taken place before with the chief executive of Warrington, Carl Fitzpatrick, and the fan who'd sent him a death threat. Just first and foremost, to get this conversation going, what did you make of those comments?
Well, I know all three people personally, so there's a lot of integrity between all the three, whether it's Carl, whether it's Robert or Eamonn, and I don't follow them in it. I never even questioned me or thought about why or them decisions went against St Helens. I think sometimes you just got to be careful and not let emotion run away with you. And but I wouldn't question either of them two's integrity at all. Mm-hmm. That's how I stand on it.
Craig, the decision itself, I think the vast majority agree it was a mistake, but is it unfair to claim that a referee could not possibly be impartial given circumstances beforehand?
Again, it's a tough one. I think he's probably missed one decision and it's cost him or hurt him in the game. And I don't think a ref's would even think of being impartial. I think he calls it how he sees it. And sometimes, we're only human, aren't we? We all make mistakes, and he's made a big mistake there, hasn't he, by not sending that one up. And it hurts, but you just got to get on with it, haven't you?
Well, in full honesty, what do you make of the standard of refereeing? Do the players think that the refereeing is bad?
A lot of people have issues with refs sometimes. Before games, they'll see a certain referee and they'll complain. But in my opinion, I'm not that bothered. I don't think they affect the game that much. I'm just concentrating on how I'm playing, and they'll make decisions rightly or wrongly, and you've just got to roll with it. It's a tough job, in my opinion. I've coached kids before, and I'll ref their game, and there'll be a knock on, and I can't tell if it's a ball steal or a knock on.
So I just way up to see.
Yeah, exactly. Hair's too thin up here, and I think, like you say, I just roll with it when it's like that. And they've got a tough job, and I just think sometimes you've just got to get on with the game. Like, they can't have that much of an impact where they're going to lose you a game. If you get it right and you're pretty squeaky clean, they can't have that much of an impact on the game.
Yeah, there is a process, Matt, after game, when the coaches do the video analysis, that they will actually, get in touch with the guys at the RFL and explain. We had a try disallowed against York, which would have put us into fourth place and more or less guaranteed top 5. And then, it got disallowed. He said he bounced it. Video evidence showed that he actually scored it. You get on with it. Ryan just rung him up and said, look, you need to look at this. He's made a mistake. Let's move on.
So why would Eamonn make those comments?
That's a question for Eamonn. I can't read into what he's thinking or why, whether he's got some information or somebody's done some talking. I don't know. And but like I said, knowing Carl as I know him and Robert, I think that the integrity would always be 100% with them too.
Well, it did have an effect on this show because we were supposed to have Steve Ganson on, but for reasons out of our control, we couldn't get him on this week, which is a shame. Craig, if you were a St Helens player and you saw your chairman make those sort of comments, what would you be thinking? Would you rather him not get involved in that, or?
Yeah, I think I would. What's happened, hasn't it? They can't change the result. They can't change his decision. He's made that, and it's a tough call. But you just want to get on now. They've got bigger things moving forward. Potentially getting to the grand final. So it's you need to just put it behind you, don't you? And get on. And the lads want that as well. The lads will want to forget about that. Losing a Challenge Cup final is never nice in any circumstance. So I think they've got bigger things on the horizon, and I think moving forward they need to concentrate on the league now. And
Will, do we just, as a game, as a sport, just need to stop complaining and worrying about what referees are doing? Because all I see on social media after every game, the referee were rubbish, he cost us the game, he did this, he did that. So we just need to just enjoy what's happening on the field rather than worrying about the refs.
I think you're bang on. Like what I alluded to earlier, you can't control what the refs do. You can only control what you do and what your teammates do. That's that's all that really matters. And I think, like you say, you should just concentrate on your own performance, get that right, and the rest will take care of itself. And the refs just there. They should just really just there to control the game. They're not the main part of the game. The players are the main part of the game, and that should really be all that matters.
What are they like to deal with on the field, gents? You get to experience them in a different light to what we do.
As I've got older, I found it a bit easier. Obviously, more games you play, it's just easier to talk to them. Where a bit younger, and you can be a little bit immature towards them and that sort of thing. But it's probably the hardest job in the world, isn't it, being a referee? Because no matter what you do, you're always going to get some stick. And the lads who do it are doing a decent job, aren't they? So I think it's time that in every sport really that the refs just need to be appreciated for what they do, because if they aren't there, then the game doesn't go ahead, does it?
Yeah. Do you find them all right to deal
If they
with?
could be more accurate with the 10s sometimes, maybe if they're a little bit shorter, that'd be nice, because sometimes that's the only time I ever hear anything from a ref is get onside.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I am onside, I'm trying my best. But other than that, I don't really have much dealings with a ref apart from telling me to get me 10. I'll try and get me 9 at least.
Fair enough. Steve, then, the lads say we need to take focus off the refs. How do clubs try and lead that? Because obviously it's the supporters who are the main instigators of criticising the refs. Of course, we've seen club officials can do it too. But how do we stop this culture of blaming referees for anything and everything?
I don't think you can. Look, if you go back years before social media, it was talked about in pubs, clubs, workplaces and things like that, and they'll always talk about referees. People will always look for somebody else to blame. That's just human nature. That's something you can't get out of. I think it's a good talking point about referees. That were a forward pass. We've all seen them on TV. It were a forward pass. Fortunately, they can't go back and show. But there needs probably the Sky games are probably more intense on referees than the normal Sunday game or the normal Thursday, Friday night game. So I think sometimes what we need to do is just hang back on Sky, not criticise the referee, not slow everything down, because at real pace everything's different. And I think Sky could help by that, and by probably protecting referees just a little bit by not actually getting into all them decisions and looking at them, slowing them down and what they've done and what they haven't done. And I think Barry Mack and Terry do a real good job in just because they've played and they understand, and they just say, look, it is at real pace, it was a good decision. I watched Ben Thaler on Saturday over in Catalans. I thought Ben were absolutely outstanding in his game and what he did. And we just got to get out of this culture of blaming other people, blaming referees, But ultimately, if you're good enough on day as a team, you'll win.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it.
It's interesting this, isn't it, Craig? Because Sky do have Stuart Cummins in, and this has been getting a lot of criticism recently, them having him there and basically scrutinising every call. Do you like that?
Personally, no. I think the people who work on there are knowledgeable enough to be able to say their views and dissect the game how it needs to be. I don't think it needs that extra opinion. It's just adding something else onto an argument. I think let the refs make the calls and not having someone to explain what they've done, because I don't think it needs it. He's made a decision for a reason, and that's his opinion. The other ref might have a different opinion. It's just one of them things, isn't it? I think, and they just need to concentrate on the people who are knowledgeable about the game. Yeah, he's been a ref and stuff, and at the highest level. But I think it just needs.
Do you think, Craig, that when you watch Aussie games on a morning on Sky and the commentators on there, they talk about the game and how the game's going, we're still trying to educate people in our game why they've done that, how they've done that. And when you play game, when you see game, and a lot of our fans are very knowledgeable, they understand that, and it becomes a bit repetitive when we're talking about why he's done that and why he hasn't done that. When Aussie game, they get on about, they get excited about the game, and we seem to lack that excitement when we commentate. And I love to hear Andrew Henderson, when he commentates or when he did commentate. He's got a passion, you feel it every game.
And that's the same with the Aussies, though. The Aussies are all ex-players who've played at the highest level, who are really knowledgeable and excitable about the game. Where you listen to Stuart Cummins, no offence, you just lose yourself, because he's not talking with any passion. He's just on one level and not been excited about what's actually happened in the game. He's just giving his opinion on what that ref's done.
Well, this is just moving this on slightly. Steve talked about a blame culture, and one thing I've seen a lot on social media is people talking down the standard of the competition this year, despite the fact it's so tight at the bottom and there's so many teams fighting with each other. Saints have obviously been outstanding. Then there's that battle in between. People are saying it says that the standard's poor. Do you think that's unfair?
Yeah, I think it's unfair. I think what you've alluded to before about how tight it is shows how good the standard is at the moment, how every team is competing. I think if you just look at the league and you look how tight it is, I think that just says to me how good the standard is at the minute. Just in terms of the competition wise, obviously I know there's a bit of a gap between St Helens, they've been outstanding, you can't deny that, but then if you look at that top 6, how close is that? And that's what you want to see. It makes, I think a few years ago they wanted it to make it that every game matters. Well, at the moment every game matters. At the bottom of that pile, every game matters whether you're going to get relegated or not, and at the top it matters if you're going to get in them playoff spots. So what more could you want from a competition where it's tight and it's interesting? It's not just, this is a neutral game, it's a nothing game. Like, games are getting moved about and put on Sky because these are must wins, and that brings the entertainment factor, and that's what you want.
Craig, this is a good question for you because you've been around the top flight for a long time. You've seen the standards from right at the start to where we are now. How do you think it compares to maybe, say, 10 years ago, let's say, to now?
I think it's totally different. All aspects of it. The training's totally different, a lot harder. You know, lads are coming through a lot stronger, a lot bigger. Like, look at Will, like big, strong lads. And years and years ago, whoever were relegated already been relegated by now. And people had moaned, they shouldn't even be in Super League or whatever. And whoever's at the top 5 is already sorted. So I think you're always going to have that argument. But I think this year's, everybody's tight, and even until last week in the Super League, you're not going to know who's relegated.
What about the calibre of player though? Are the quality of players as high as they were, or are they higher now? Or is it just changed?
Yeah, I'd just say it's sort of a different sort of calibre. Like, people nowadays are a lot fitter, stronger, faster. Luke Thompson, for prime example, prop who's really quick, break lines, pass the ball, can do all round, where back in the day, even now, if I made a break, I'm looking out for someone. I want to get rid of that ball or I'm getting tackled. So where we've seen he can finish a try, and he's got the speed and the confidence to be able to do that, where I think probably 10, 15 years ago, if a prop makes a break, he's looking around for the nearest fast kid.
So maybe just pushing on that then, Steve, has maybe the athleticism of the game gone up, but some people say maybe the intervention, the off-the-cuff magic isn't as high as it was. Maybe the game's more structured than it was before. Is that? Do you see it that way?
I think that's down to individual coach. We've got a real good coach at Featherstone in Ryan Carr, and we probably do the same things week in, week out, and sometimes it's not even fluent, and he'll be pulling his hair out. I go back to 2017 at Cass, when we were probably in the same situation as St Helens are now. We were probably standout team. We didn't have many injuries that year. We had some injuries, but not as many as Cass have had this year, which has been a nightmare, hasn't it, really, with injuries. And, they're still there fighting for 5th place. So the calibre of young kids coming through is really good. These young kids, like Will, started at 16, Will 17, when 17, you come to Cass. Craig started at 16, so they're now earning their stripes coming through and winning games against other clubs. Maybe not St Helens, although I thought they did incredibly well last Friday night at St Helens, losing before. And, they kept it really tight, because I've been there when we've been thumped by 50s and things like that. So the young kids are coming through now. The squads are getting deeper. There's more quality in it. And, it makes an exciting, I think, for the next few years in Super League. It's just, people have got to be patient. But what you've got to find out is when you see all these forums, it's only a nucleus of about 20 people all the time that seem to have a say on what's happening. Or moaning and complaining. It's whichever you go on, they're probably the same names, same faces that complain and moan all the time. And that ain't bad in a sport of ours.
That's very true. Just to wrap this up, we'll go back to Saints. You've played against them, Will. You know what they're like. They can't be stopped, because Warrington proved it. Are they going to go on and win the grand final or not?
I think it's going to be close. I really do. I always think the weather plays a big form in this kind of year. It's going to get colder. It's going to get a lot wetter, and they're going to be proper grind games. It's going to be set for set, and it's going to be kind of a new once it more situation. And skill sometimes goes a little bit out the window. And I think Wigan are picking up some good form. I think Salford look great. I honestly think sort of the top 6 at the moment. I genuinely think anyone could win it. And Saints, I'd probably say Saints are still the favourite at the minute, just on how they've been playing. And even if it came to a grind game, they've got players that can be outstanding. But I reckon everyone's got a good chance of winning this league.
It was your tip, Craig. If someone's going to beat Saints, who would it be in your eyes?
It's probably not a popular choice, but I think Wigan.
What makes you say that?
just with how they're playing at the minute, I think they've got some great young kids coming through who's really stepped up with the injuries that they've had. So yeah, I think they could, potentially go on and win it again.
What about Salford, Steve?
No, I don't look any further than Cass. Never do.
Big game for them this week.
Yeah, they're all big games. I keep saying to everybody, if Cass getting that top 5, don't rule them out. And I never look at any other result. That's the only result I look for on a Super League result.
Yep.
On a Sunday or Thursday or Monday, Friday. So for me, never on your club, Cass Tigers.
Well, we're going to move on to the bottom half of Super League in the next part. Stay right here. We'll be back after a short break. You've spoken and we've listened. Rugby League Backchat is available on podcast form from all your best podcast providers. If you're on a trip down the M62 or a flight to Toronto or Toulouse, download Rugby League Backchat for the best debate inside Rugby League. Welcome back to the latest part of Rugby League Backchat. Don't forget you can join the conversation too on Twitter at RL Backchat. So we're going to go from the top of the league to the bottom of the league, gents. It was a big week for a lot of the clubs at the bottom, namely the Huddersfield Giants picked up that huge win over Hull FC. Will, you don't have to play any of the bottom teams now, so you can give your honest opinion. Who's going down?
It's a tough one because you don't like to bring anybody down, but it's still close, isn't it? Huddersfield, that was a massive result for them. I was speaking to Dan Smith, who was previously of the Huddersfield Giants. He says they always play well there. Seem to play well at FC, and they've come away with a great win that puts them in a good position. KR have done the same. They've put themselves in a good position. So it's everyone's to lose, and it's probably London's to gain. So I'd say London are at a disadvantage simply because the 2 points are shy of everyone else. So I'd probably say London at the minute, but they've pulled off some awesome wins this year, so you can't rule them out. I'm not ruling them out. I'm just going by the facts and the stats that they're at the bottom of the league by 2 points, and it's everyone else's to lose.
Yeah, they are though. They've got Wakefield and Hull KR to play. So it's well in their hands as well, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, I think they've got Wakefield the last game of the season, aren't they? And I think they'll be probably pretty confident going into that if they get the win over Hull KR this week. And I know they've obviously beat them twice already down in London, so it'll be an interesting game to see. And I just think the points difference that they've got, I'm just not sure if they'll be able to recoup all that, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to get the two wins that they need.
They're going to have to win 2, aren't they, Steve?
Yeah.
That's the reality with the points difference. They're going to have to win the 2, but it's not out of the realms of possibility that they could do it.
It's not, and I think, as Craig alluded to, it'll be down to points difference if they do, and that's massive. That's like another extra point. And but I think credit away from Danny Ward. He's done a fantastic job down there. They've been brave, they've been courageous, they've played some good football, and it's a shame really that if they do go down, that we'll lose them to Super League, because I think Super League needs a capital team to bring it. But I'd hate to see one of the traditional clubs down as well, whether it be Wakefield or KR. All KR brings so much to Super League in terms of their attendances and things like that. Wakefield for rivalry between Leeds and Castleford. And of course, Huddersfield, just for Ken Davey, I'd hate to see him, and how much work they put in and investment he's put into that club. So it's a tough one, but I agree with Craig. I think if it does go, it'll come down to points difference.
It's just on London and Danny Ward. Don't think anyone disagrees. He's done a great job. Where does he rank in the Super League Coach of the Year talk, Craig, in your eyes?
I would still say he's up there. I think when London beat Toronto last year, everybody said there's no point. They'll not do anything. They'll be relegated by whatever, like early on, and they've shocked everybody. They beat us on first day of season Then a couple of weeks later, they beat Wigan down there, and no one gave him a chance. And I think he's done a great job to even be in with a running of staying up, which they still are. I think he's done an absolute magnificent job, and I think Jamie Langley's same, who's obviously down there helping him. They've put the faith in youth, and it's worked for him.
Ian Watson being that as well, would he not, Will?
Yeah, I'd agree. I just think both of those coaches, they seem like really good man managers. They seem like really genuine blokes. And obviously they've got squads that you might not look at them and think these are championship winning sides or these are going to be successful teams, but they both have been. Even though London at the bottom of the table, I'd still say they've had a successful year, like what Craig said, from what people were expecting of them. And I think it's just they've managed to create within a group of people a really strong team just through a connection. They've probably just had something to, like a good driver, they've had something to work for, and they've all worked together, and it's a team game at the end of the day. And they've not had superstars in the squad, but they've come together and they've put up some results and they've played some fantastic rugby, just simply, I reckon, from them coaches, just being good man managers and creating a great environment for them all to play in and thrive in. And I think,
Coming up to Super League, Steve, you mentioned that you wouldn't want to lose a traditional club. We've guaranteed 80% chance of a new name in Super League next year now, the top 5 sorted. You're in it, congratulations on that. What's your thoughts going into the Championship playoffs?
Again, the teams that's really shocked everybody is York.
Yeah.
I think Fordy's done a tremendous job. I don't think they've seen the work that Featherstone have done as well from start to season to where they've finished. I think that, that as a club, they've been brilliant. Mark and Dav have supported everything that they've gone through. Ryan's done a terrific job as well, but there's Lee. Derek spent his money and fetched some key signings in back end. York went there with a weekend side and beat him at weekend. So Toronto, they don't worry me as such, because the intensity that Toronto play with is very hard for them to get up every week, because obviously the teams that are going over to Toronto, they can be weakened somewhat by visas and work and things like that, because a lot of these lads are still part-time. So they're not playing to intensity week in, week out that probably Featherstone, York, Lee are playing to in their own backyard. So going over to Toronto, I don't think phases anybody anymore. I think going to York phases anybody. Coming down here, I don't think any club will want to come down here, because it's a bit of an hothouse, is Featherstone, and it can be very intimidating. So I think any of 5 clubs has potentially strength and got the ability, if they get on a roll, keep injury free, and everybody's accepted by visas to go to Canada, then I would imagine.
What's the latest with that? Because I seem to recall about this time last year, when the qualifiers was around and Toronto said that they'd make sure that every player got a visa. How are the clubs finding that?
I think they're finding it a lot easier this year.
Okay.
To be fair, we've had 1 or 2 problems, and that's just down to personal players' conduct away from club at certain times in their careers. So, and they have a strict. It's nothing to do with the club itself. It is purely down to immigration, and not Toronto. Toronto do try really hard to get everybody in, and like I said, because they need that intensity. There's no point in putting 70 or 80 points by somebody's second team, because the best players can't go over. And so it's just a case of working at it. Hopefully it gets right. If they're getting Super League, will they have the same problems? Probably. So let's see.
And just to pick up on what you said, so do you not think that Toronto will go up?
I don't think they're favourites. I think the media portray them as favourites, and I think they would love to go up in terms of how it is as an international side. But I won't rule York out, Featherstone, Lee, or any clubs in top 5, as London proved last year. Come from nowhere.
Will, do you agree?
Yeah, that's a good call. I just think I played York earlier in the year with Halifax, and they were great. They were outstanding, and I think a lot of sides will have underestimated them throughout the year, and they've come up trumps several times. And you see what Steve alluded to about they've gone to Lee with a weakened side and they've come away with a victory, and I think that is down probably to James Ford, and just what I said, probably just a real good man manager and just getting the best out of a group that might not be full of superstars, but as a team and as a collective they can produce results, and that's all that matters. And it's playoff rugby at the end of the day, and anyone can win. I think same applies to Super League table, anyone can win that, and it'll come the same as that, who wants it on the day.
And that's what we want. We talked about it so much in past, and now we've got it. Everybody wants to change it again, or seemingly want to change it. I think as fans watching it, it's a great time to watch any club, because you can go and beat anybody. And that's what we always wanted. We were the same at Cass in early days, weren't we? we know teams with no chance against, and fans know it as well. And when we started building, because it isn't, what they've got to understand is it's not something that happens overnight, building a team. Obviously, it's just something you can't just say, let's go out and sign him, because they're not available. You know, not money it will sometimes. And Maher tried it, didn't he, probably about 4 years back, and it didn't happen because the culture's not there. You know, if all these were like different people, you wouldn't put them on a train together, would you? Because, you know, you're trying to blend them into a team. So if they're all chemicals, you won't put them all together. What you try and do is try and get good people into clubs. And sometimes you don't always make that decision right. But if you've got 95% of people who are good people and good players, you've hell of a chance then come back end of season.
I'm going to pick up on something you've said there in a minute. Well, I just want to come to you because you played a lot of Championship last year.
Yeah, I did.
How far off now is the standard at the top of Championship compared to bottom of Super League? London have probably proved it's not as far as it has been.
Yeah.
Where do you think it is?
I think obviously we got into the middle eights last year with Fax, and I think what we were talking about before, just the athleticism. I think just as the game goes on, you sort of get into that 50th, 60th minute, and the standards we just seem to drop off our standards a bit while they kept consistent. We played Salford, and I think, you know, Simon Griggs made a point that some of these guys are just simply a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, and a little bit stronger, and that sort of made the difference. And I'd probably say skill as well. I'd say, and obviously with that athleticism, they've got a bit more speed, which contributes to the quickness of the game. They get the ruck speed a bit quicker. They're a bit smarter with the wrestle as well, really. But in terms of effort and intent, I don't think there is much of a difference, really, if I'm honest. But it's just that athleticism which contributes to the speed of the ruck, and then obviously that wrestle and a bit of the skill that just kind of made the contributing factors to what the real difference is between top-end Championship and Super League.
And Craig, when you've come up against Championship teams, which will be against the norm for yourself, what do you find to be the key strengths of those teams?
You know what? They're always eager. They always want to impress, and I think they always are wanting to make a shock. And you want to play against the best, don't you, week in, week out? And with the middle eights, obviously been in with Huddersfield, we found like the first probably 20-30 minutes of the game were probably more intense than what Super League is sometimes, because of their wanting to impress, and it's their chance to showcase what they've got and put themselves in the spotlight a little bit as well. And you know, not many Championship games were televised either, and the middle eights were one a week, and you know, they want to impress, and that's what you want to do, innit? You want to give your best foot forward, and I think there's some really good players, especially young players.
Were you at Huddersfield when Swinton beat him?
Challenge Cup.
Yes.
Did you play?
No.
He's got that one there. But I think Oldham went to OKR and beat
they did.
OKR, and Featherstone beat Cass down here in Challenge Cup when Pauli had Featherstone.
There's been a few this year as well. Bradford beat Leeds.
Barra beat Cass.
I
6 years back,
actually
didn't
played
they?
in the Fev Cass one.
Yeah.
That was my first game back, and again, that the atmosphere here was unbelievable. It was everybody, Fev fans were just giving you it, and you're walking in thinking, oh no, what's happening here? And it put you right off your game. And credit to them, they did what they needed to and played miles better than us. Yeah. We were awful.
Which is the most intimidating ground to go to, gents?
As a player going back, I'd say Cass, because it is that close.
Okay.
And obviously because I'd been there for a lot of years, and I knew the other side of it, and I'd not really always seen the other side of it, because obviously you get the cheers and all the happy stuff. And
you surely didn't get grief when you went back.
I did get a little bit, yeah. And you realise how tight it actually is when you're going in the smaller changing rooms and not having much space available to you, and you're like, oh my God, this is not very good, this actually.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, exactly.
Will, what do you think?
I think here, if I'm honest, I've played here with played here first game of the year last year with Fax, and it was tough. Fev fans are very passionate, and especially when you've come off after your stint, I've had a few choice words said to me that I probably can't repeat on air, and I thought, wow, I'm in for it today. But I think we beat Fev at the Big Bash last year, and that was awesome, because afterwards they were all congratulating, saying, oh, good game, and I thought, that'll do. That's a bit of satisfaction for last time I was here.
Fair enough. Steve, I want to come back to what you said about, you talk about how you built things up at Cass, and it doesn't happen overnight. It has been a little bit overnight here though this year, because your coach left very, very close to the season.
Yeah.
You brought in what's fair to say was an unknown to this country as your head coach. You've recruited on the fly, but you've still had success. So how have you done it? Because it's completely different to what you did at Castleford.
Yeah, it had to be really, and it was just by, as we talked about agents earlier, knowing agents, which players available, which players will fit into our team and the culture that Ryan wanted to bring into the squad, and managed to just pick them in at certain times. And also, obviously with the Leeds connection, the dual reg, which has worked brilliant for us, and hopefully next year that that continues, which I'm sure it will. And then the dual reg, then I've been able to fetch the reserves in. And also possibly one of our players to dual reg with Super League side, which would be Leeds Rhinos, gives them players that I could be playing Super League next year if I'm called upon. That all adds to the strength of what's happened at Featherstone. Then Connor Jones has been a revelation. He's I'd looked at him about 3 years back at Castleford to bring in as an understudy because he could play half-back as well. So I kept my eye on him all the time. And when he became available, I just said, let's get him on a flight, let's get him over there. Absolute top quality kid, really humble in what he does. And I'm sure he's got a massive future ahead of him.
And your coach, how good's he been?
He's been great. He's gone through a lot, to be fair. It's a rocky road sometimes when you come all that way. And the fans expect success straight away. And the way he's conducted himself throughout, he's been impeccable, and whatever happens with Ryan, he's going to be a top coach, I believe. Later on, he's very young at 30, and probably again at this season he'll probably look about 40. But he's been a great coach, and he's been a calming influence. And lads think world of him. I got a text off Dane Chisholm on Sunday night saying that he's the best coach he's ever been under, and a lot of players are saying that. The Leeds lads love him. Again, the Leeds have took him under the wing now, and he's assisting Richard, who thinks, they think world of him at Leeds. So he's been a good acquisition to Featherstone, but I think he's been a good acquisition to Rugby League in the UK in general.
And Craig, you're coaching now.
Yeah, doing a little bit with Lock Lane. Just unexpected really. My little boy plays there, and I just nipped in to fill some forms in for his team. And the Paul Couch were there, and obviously knew that I'd left Wakey and asked me what I was doing and if I want to help out, and I gladly agreed. It's not something that I really thought about doing or wanted to do really, but I just thought, being in with lads and just keeping in rugby in general, just keeping in. He's really good, and unfortunately we've not won a game since.
Oh no, you shouldn't be mentioning that.
The dreaded. But yeah, it's a good laugh. They're sort of winding down back end of season now. They've only got a couple of games left, and they're safe in the Premier. So I think the lads have sort of put Q in racking, ready for the little trip away. But it's a good laugh, and I'm enjoying doing it when I can get down.
Well, after a short break, we'll ask Craig a bit more about what he's doing, plus Bradford Bulls and the Odsal farewell. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the final part of this week's Rugby League back chat. Before the break, Craig, I was asking you about your coaching career, that we won't go into the results. Tell us a little bit about your year, because you were at Wakefield, you've left, so what have you been doing in between?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a strange one really. Worked hard all pre-season, to get back to fitness after a few knee problems last year, and first game of the season against St Helens, 9 minutes in, it were over. Just unfortunate, had a couple of surgeries and stuff, but Ended up getting released after being told I won't play again this year, and sort of next year we're all on playing again this year, which we knew that wasn't going to happen now. So it was probably best for both that, you know, we part ways and look at other options. So I've just been sort of a couple of holidays, and I've started up a little prep meal business, just doing a bit of cooking. I've been at college for the last year or so, doing a chefing course. So
what about the rugby career? We're not putting an end to it yet, are we?
no, definitely not. There's still, feel like I've still got a lot to give. There's still time. There's still a bit of running left in my legs. Just got to get this shoulder injury right, and you know, I'm ready to go again next year. I think I'm too young, if I'm honest, to retire, and I want to give a little bit more, and hopefully an opportunity might come round and go again.
Super League or Championship, Craig?
Again, either or, Steve.
I can see a bit of paper in his back pocket, just ready to pull it out.
Either or. I mean, at this moment in time, I'm not ruling out either. But I think as I'm getting older, I need to start thinking about life after rugby as well, and obviously starting this little business venture going. You know, potentially part-time might be.
Do you make a good brew?
I
Because
think
you never
I do.
did as a player, mate.
I think I do, yeah. I've been told a couple of times, but if not, I can make it a good dinner.
Ah, well.
We talked about the Championship earlier on. There was a time where people said it was a bit of a career graveyard. You go there and it's sort of the end of your career. It doesn't seem like that's necessarily the case anymore.
No, I think there's a lot of great talent in the Championship, especially young. And I think you've only got to look at teams like Wigan and Warrington. They've took a few from Championship over the last couple of years, and you know, they've stepped up really well. And you know, starting season, even when they probably weren't expected to impress in pre-season. So I think nowadays it's more of a stepping stone. Go learn your trade a little bit more, because it's a little bit more physical, isn't it, than the under-19s, and you're playing against men every week in, week out. So I think it's definitely just a learning curve to get yourself, and I'm pretty sure if you impress in Championship, everybody's going to start watching you, and year after you're probably in Super League.
How is the shoulder?
It's all right. It's not bad. It's definitely better than it was. I had another surgery just to loosen it all back up, which has massively helped me. I've got full range of movement now again. So there's definitely a lot of rugby to be played still.
Steve's ears pricked up. Did you say that?
I'd already spoke to him earlier about that, didn't I? And
asked me about retirement.
yeah, it's if you can stay in game, it's good for you. And you know, Craig, wherever he goes, will give it. You know, he's got some leadership qualities there, and he will help whichever club he goes to if he decides to pull the boots back on again. I'm sure.
You're doing your own recruitment. How's it going? Happy?
Yeah, very well. I must admit, the Featherstone fans have been superb. We just launched a new squad builder, and we've about 170 members joined to pay £10 a month into that, and that's been massive to help us recruit some players. And we're hoping to, pardon the plug, but Thursday night we're hoping to announce one of his first signings this year. So we're well down way in recruiting for next year, and I've got another couple to bring in yet in terms of over and above what we have already signed, which will be announced in due course, respectfully when the other clubs stop playing. And so it's looking good at Featherstone for next year in terms of the player and the strength of the squad. And if we don't make Super League this year, then we'll be in a very good position for next year.
I'm just trying to do the quick maths on 170 times 10 over the course of a year. It's a lot of money to go towards your squad that at Championship level, isn't it?
It is, and we set a stall out to get 200 members by end of this year. And you know, the squad builder group of Terry Milani, Alan Wilkinson, and ex-player Alan Rhodes have been really significant in doing that. And they've just jumped on board. The fans have been fantastic. You know, when Featherstone fans and Cas fans will have to forgive me for this, but there's no difference between the passion of the two clubs. Obviously, Cas have had the success. Featherstone are working towards it. But when you speak to them, they're so passionate about the game and the knowledge of the game. And I hope they don't take this wrong way, but you know, when I worked at Charleston Pit, when I walked in canteen on a Monday morning, Cassett plate fed the hostility between the two groups, but it were all great banter. And there's not much difference. There's not a stone throw away. and they will forgive me, I'm sure. There's a right distasteful. I get it all the time. When I first started at Featherstone, they did say that I would all start in from Cass. So it took about 6 months before actually people come up and start talking to me. So
To be fair, I think Wakey's in that bracket as well, because Wakey's, I say, is exactly the same as Cass. The fans are, and I got that calling me a Cass, whatever, at first, and then slowly but surely they took to me, and the fans were exactly the same as they were in Cass, passionate and just love the game.
Well, I'm not going to ask you about
this issue being a Cumbrian. It's all good. You're just neutral. You're just impartial.
Everybody likes Cumbrians.
Yeah,
don't they?
Yeah, you've got it easy. I'm not going to ask you what you're doing next year because I'll get in trouble. So we'll
these League Express rumours need to be quashed.
That was my rumour. Don't talk me down. We're going to talk about Bradford. Last game at Odsal. Craig, you've played there many times. What do you make of this whole situation?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. I've not read that much about it. Obviously, I've seen a lot of pictures from ex-players on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that over the last couple of days, and I think it's quite sad, isn't it? Me growing up, Bradford were the best team. You know, it's iconic, isn't it? And the stadium itself, it's just the whole thing of it. It's like a Rugby League's losing one of the greats, isn't it? And it is quite sad, I think. But it obviously needs to happen for them to stay.
It's such a shame, isn't it? I mean, you'll have played there a few times. Yeah. People can say what they want about it, but you don't forget playing there.
No, it's a great ground, and I've seen, has it got the record for the highest attended Rugby League game like that?
Was it Halifax Warrington?
Yeah. That's history right there, and it's going to be sadly lost. Simple as that. And it's an awesome ground, and they have a great following, Bradford, regardless of what's happened to them. And I think that's testament to the fans that they've gone from the heights of Super League down to Champ 1, then they've fought back in the Championship, and still those fans have come week in, week out, and it's going to be tough for them to move ground, and it is a shame. Like Craig said, I saw a lot of ex-teammates, ex-players putting up that it was the last ground there, and it is sad to see. But
I will tell you a story about Bradford. I think Craig might have played in this game. It was an academy game. Dean Sampson, what academy coach, along with myself and Tony Marchant, and we played in a curtain raiser v Bradford Bulls under 18s at time, and Leeds were the visitors that day to Bradford, and it were record Super League attendance. I think Bradford won it in the last minute. It was an iconic game.
Michael Withers, didn't he?
Michael Withers, that's the one. And we were there playing curtain raiser, and all that bank were full of Leeds fans and obviously Bradford fans all around, and Leeds fans were cheering for Cass. We actually won that game. And as an academy, it was the year we got relegated into Championship, and we won that game. And I can remember stood looking at all the crowd and that, and thinking, what would be my dream of seeing Cass get to where this is now, and where they were, what the quality and everything. And I look at it now. I mean, I went back this year with Featherstone, the first game of the season, it was freezing cold, 2,000 fans, things like that. And I just think, where's it all gone? And I put it down to spending on egos rather than spending with your head. And that's where you look at it. And look at Bradford this year, and I looked at the size of their squad compared to everybody else's this year, and rumoured some money that paid, and then the attendance is coming in, and you just think, there's a balance somewhere. Somebody's got to put that extra money in from somewhere. Where does it come from? And slowly but surely you can see the demise of it happening, and rumours coming out and things like that. And you just, Bradford Bulls should still be a Super League side, top 5, week in, week out, playing at the highest level, because they prove they can get the attendances, they can take the attendances away, which is really important. And like you said, they're iconic, or there was iconic. But times move on, and people have got to change, and people have got to start believing that, as we did at Cass, we can only spend what we can afford. And it's same here at Featherstone, we can only spend what we can afford.
In your opinion, Steve, loads of rumours, loads of speculation. From what you know, in your opinion, what does the future hold for the Bradford Bulls?
I don't look good at the moment in time. I mean, coming away from Bradford, I know the running costs is very high. With the council, what they're playing, if they're playing RFL, again, it's all rumours. Moving to Dewsbury, taking away Bradford Bulls into Dewsbury, and then coming back. Will they ever go back into Bradford? Maybe, but under a new regime. I think that's the way it will go. Somebody will come in, hopefully, take them on and move them forward. But I think they've got some medicine to have before that happens.
When you say that, what do you mean? Like, they've been through countless administrations. There's no suggestions right now that's going to be the case. But there are stories, there are concerns. Is there a belief in the game that that's going to happen again or not?
Well, I don't read social media, so I don't know, and I can only go on what's on League Express, which is the rugby papers, which are pretty much the same anyway. They're based on rumours and innuendos. I hope not. I hope that that they're going to Dewsbury and they can build from there. But history tells you when they start moving out of their heartland into Bradford into Dewsbury, whether it be 1, 2 years, you lose your identity with fans. And it seems then a downward spiral, and I hope not only for Bradford's sake, but for Rugby League in general. The Rugby League, we cannot afford to lose a Bradford Bulls or a Bradford Norm or anything that will come back in. We cannot afford to lose that iconic name.
Will, moving up to Cumbria, because you are our Cumbrian expert for the day. Missed out on the World Cup game with the stadium going to Kingston Park. How big a blow is that?
Yeah, it's tough. One of my good friends, Joe, used to play for Workington, and obviously I did a little bit of training up there when I was younger. And it is a shame because it is, I know obviously Lancashire and Yorkshire are traditionally the heartlands of Rugby League, but Cumbria has a massive sort of Rugby League fan base as well. So working in Whitehaven Barrow, there's a lot of passion.
Where would you play it, Will?
What, sorry?
Which ground would you play it?
It would. It missed out in Workington, didn't it?
It was going to go to the new ground that's been being developed.
Right.
But it's not. It's fallen behind on time. It's not going to be ready for 2021, basically, which is why it's not going there.
Just Workington have the Kiwis, isn't there, a couple of years?
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I was at that game.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, there's such a passion for rugby in Cumbria, and there's a lot of talent, but it sometimes becomes a little bit of a little island kind of thing. Some people, you're just going to struggle to get people to come down to play down here because they like the roots, they stick to the roots, and that's nothing wrong. There's got some really strong amateur clubs up there that are very successful. You've got your Wafbrow and your Egremont that are probably some of the top sides in amateur rugby league, and I think people like to stay there and they like to play for the clubs, and that's what their passion is.
And Whitehaven, one game away from promotion. I know Barrow have gone down, which is a shame for them, but Whitehaven should go up, shouldn't they? So that's good for them. And they have a local coach, Gary Charlton.
Yeah. And I think the thing with working in Whitehaven is they do have a lot of local players playing there as well, because they're going to struggle to attract players to come from Lancashire and Yorkshire, because it's a long way, especially to Whitehaven and Workington. So it's great that they've got a lot of local players playing and they're having a lot of success. And I think it shows, it's testament to Cumbrian Rugby League that they are being successful, and it just shows the quality of the players that are there. And I think potentially in the future a Super League side there would be great for the county, but at the same time I can't see a merger between Whitehaven and Workington. From living up there, it's similar to Fev and Cass. There is a rivalry there, and you tell Fev and Cass to merge. I don't think that'd happen, and I don't think that'll happen either, sadly.
What does the game need to do to show more love to Cumbria then? Sean Lunt was talking about this the other week when he had him on the show, and he was saying it's hard for players to get caught, to get noticed.
Yeah.
What can we do in that regard, but also on a wider scale to help Cumbria out?
Well, a lot of people, I do think, slip through the net. I do think they slip through the system because they're just not as watched. I think some of the Lancashire clubs, Warrington, Ultec, interesting. I know I see a few young kids leaving some of my old amateur clubs and going down to Warrington, but I just think there needs to be something in place. I was on part of the Cumbria Regional Academy, and that's the reason I'm here today. That's why I went to Cass, but that's not a thing anymore. And so it just makes it harder and harder for people to get noticed when there's no programmes really in place, sort of at that 16, 17, 18, where for late developers and for people that aren't quite good enough to get on academies, to kind of have an environment where they can progress in and they can still sort of get used to being in that full-time training, can still get the schoolwork done, can still get the gym work done, can still keep the skills honed and highly polished, ready for someone to come calling for them. And I think that's what they need. They need some form of academy system, some form of pathway to come through, and that if that quality is there, then people will notice, but they do need that pathway just to produce the goods, really.
Craig, just to wrap this up, we've only got a short amount of time. It's been a few weeks now, but reserve grade back.
Yep.
I think you've been a champion of it before.
Yeah, I like it, when I was 16, 17 on sort of border of first team, I didn't really play many under-18s game. I always played under-21s, which were basically your reserve. And I benefited massive just from playing against older, tougher kind of men.
Barry Mack.
Yeah, people who was coming back into first team who were injured. So yeah, I'm a massive fan.
Excellent. Well, that's all we've got time for, gents. It has gone very quickly. As ever, a big thanks for watching this week's show, and a big thanks to our guests, Will, Craig and Steve. That's all we've got time for on this week's show. We'll be back next week for another edition, but for now, goodbye.